Any episode of To Your Eternity can feel like 3 episodes of To Your Eternity. You'll be focusing on Gugu and someone like Fushi. You'll say, okay, we're gonna have 25 minutes of this. And then they'll switch over to Rin and Gugu. And you're like, okay, this is another great episode of To Your Eternity. And then within a matter of minutes, they'll slam dunk you with drama from the creator just popping up. Obviously, Fushi's not all that interested in him, but once again, doesn't feel like he's saying, I'm going to kill you. He's saying, you know, you're playing human and there's dangerous shit out there. You best watch your back. And even though, obviously, I knew it would happen eventually, I just didn't expect it to end the episode with, once again, a life form seemingly draining his forms. And as the creator says, as he was doing this since his last fight, which he barely survived, he literally survived it with his last form in the matter of seconds. He hasn't gained any new forms. He hasn't gained any new experience that would really allow him, in theory, to defeat this creature. I guess the only thing that might save him is he's gained the ability to create objects that have impacted his life, whether it is certain weapons or food, so maybe that will be a saving grace, or maybe Gugu himself will. Nonetheless, incredible episode as per usual. We actually get quite a bit of confirmation about why Rin left home, and it kind of does come down to being a more spoiled situation. I mean, it's perfectly fine for her not to want to be babied, and basically, she has no freedom. It's crystal clear. She says it herself. If she was to cough, immediately someone would be there to take care of her. That is claustrophobic, and that is unhealthy in my honest opinion. But as Gugu says, you know, that does sound like good parents, just maybe because of their wealth and things like that. Maybe she didn't have that more one-on-one that she needed, and had a lot more servants and things to take care of her. But the idea of running away from home, it comes across as something a little selfish, and I actually really like that, because it's very easy to write stories where every single character has had very shitty things happen to them, and that's why you feel bad. But it's another where the main character in this arc is Gugu, and the fact that he's literally never had families, and when he has, as we see in the flashback, they up and abandon, or, in the case of Beer Grandpa over here, he literally made him into a beer keg, right? So he's never had that. So when a girl's complaining about how she's always had everything took care for her, like, of course he's going to call it out for what it is. But if you do put yourself in her shoes, I'm sure there's plenty of moments that are unfortunate and you would want that freedom, which is why I think Gugu is encouraging her to run away and fight for the freedom if that is what she wants, on top of the fact that he has a mad crush on the girl. But I like how To Your Eternity wasn't afraid to say, hey, Rin, this girl that's pretty sweet and is a fun addition to this arc, we can throw her backstory being simply, oh, you know, she just had a really privileged life and she upped and ran away because no one took her serious. It's not one of those backstories that says, hey, we're going to cry because of what they said. Maybe there'll be more to it. Maybe there will be that depressing angle later on. But as it stands, like what she was saying and how she was saying it, it does come across as a bit laughable. But that doesn't make it poorly written in any way. In fact, I actually really like having a privileged rich girl interacting with a dude who can't even tell her that the little scratch on your arm that you think is the worst thing ever, yeah, I did that. It wasn't someone trying to kill you because they hate your father. I literally gave up my faith, and if he even tried to bring it up, he's fearful that she might push him away. It's just a very interesting conversation because there's so many sides to it. On one hand, when you look at the reason she ran away, it's pretty like, who cares? But when you listen to how she speaks to someone like Gugu, she has one of the purest hearts we've seen. The fact that she's saying, I don't care about your scars, I don't care about how you look, the weird factors to you is the reason I like you. These two are very cute together, and I like the idea of like the masked couple, you know, Gugu, because he's a freak in terms of what society would say. As I said last week, Gugu is not the freak, society is. And then you have a girl trying to hide her identity, but until she changes the clothes, there's no way that she's going to be able to hide her identity with like basically a pale mask. There's no way around it. But I like how, when you look at her reason for running away, it's laughable, but when you look at how she talks to people, she's a very sweet and I think strong-willed character, and I think it's a nice contrast to saying, hey, she had a very privileged life and she's complaining like she had it like Gugu, but when you see how she interacts with characters like Gugu, she definitely is a very good and kind-hearted soul. The stuff with Fushi before she arrived there I thought was interesting. No one can tell me with a straight face they didn't think Gugu was dying in this episode at first. They were building up like something was happening, he's been starving himself, Fushi's making the pears and everything like that, and the way they're building it up, kind of like learning, and well, he's learning anyway, like, okay, who's this name you're dropping, because that was the wolf that he took on. and saying, okay, so basically when things impact you negatively, you take their form. When I die, will you take my form? Basically having to have the conversation of what is death. And they're building it up in such a way, especially with Fushi's line just calling out his name because it looked like, I mean, on one hand I was thinking, oh, he's just sleeping, but they were directing it in such a way, I was like, man, they really just killed him like this. And then in comes her, and she just completely changes the tone. And I love that. It was definitely in an unexpected way, and on one hand, people can argue, we know everyone that he interacts with ends up dead, so whenever we start an arc, most likely it's going to end with a character dying. But the reason I don't think that's a formulaic issue is that he's immortal. The only thing that can seemingly kill him are the objects tracking him, sucking out his form. If he's in a normal arc where he's dealing with kids or old people or someone in the middle of their life, eventually they will die because he'll outlive all of them. So it's not something that needs to be unexpected when someone like Rin or Gugu or Boozman dies. That doesn't have to be like a shock that we're like, holy shit, I didn't see a death coming. It's more of a whim, because they could die at any moment. He could have died in his sleep from starvation. He could die protecting him next week. We don't know when it will happen, it's a matter of how it happens and what the impact will do to his character. And I think that's what makes it so interesting, because when you're following an immortal, you know the end result for everyone he meets. It's a matter of what they do for his character along the way before they reach death's doorstep, and that's really interesting. I mean, for an episode that was literally focused mainly on the tent, they were just sitting around talking for the most part. They went to the market for a brief second, almost got kidnapped there, returning from home. Everyone in the village looking, being like, oh, she ran away from home. So you know how much of a non-issue it is for her running away, but still, you want your daughter back. To then just kind of like the simple roadside before everything hit the fan. Not gonna lie, based on the intro of the episode when Fushi was scaring off little bandits, kind of like trying to see the freak show in the bear form, I thought that's what he was gonna do to the woman who was like trying to get the girl back. But instead he went with, of course, child form, and I love how he uses the blood stain as a way to make her worried in a life-threatening way. It'll be interesting to see, though, where episode 10 goes. Definitely got bad feelings for sure, but it'll be interesting to see if Gugu and Fushi make it out of this battle seemingly unharmed. I mean, who knows where this arc's gonna go. Definitely the longest one for sure, but I think they definitely really explored a lot of things in interesting ways, voice acting remaining on point, and the soundtrack remains to be emotionally driven as per usual. I really do hope, though, that this battle won't kill one of them, because I would really like to see more interactions before the inevitable happens. Like, I really hope we get to see these three really get to continue on their bond. It feels like a romance is brewing between Rin as well as Gugu, as Fushi just wants to have his family, so I'm hoping, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if next week just completely crushes me at the same time. But let me know your thoughts and feelings, and definitely your theories on where next week's episode might go, especially in with that cliffhanger slash preview. It all looks like chaos, but I definitely think there's a lot of ways to interpret where it could go next week. So drop a like to help promote the video, and subscribe if you happen to be new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.